Hello everybody, how are we doing? My name's Jess and I decided this year is the year that I'm going to get my front splits, middle splits and my pancake stretch. So I've done 1 month, I started on the 1st of Jan and now it's the 1st of Feb. I'm going to share with you what I've learned in my first month of splits training and I'm going to show all my progress pictures. First thing I'm going to say, all these videos that say get your splits in 30 days, it's complete rubbish. I'm sorry, it's complete rubbish. I'm here to show you what it actually looks like to do splits training for 30 days. This is the progress that I've made in 1 month. I'm really happy with that. I feel like I've made progress in each different thing I was doing, like an actual noticeable difference, and I can feel a difference when I'm doing it as well. So I'm really proud of that. I've been doing a routine that I filmed, I actually have on my channel, where it's basically 1 hour and I have front splits, middle splits and pancake all in that 1 hour. I do that twice a week and I've seen a really big difference. This is the difference that I've seen in 1 month, and it means that I'm not stretching when my muscles are still sore. You know, a lot of people say do it every day or do it every other day, and I did that at first when I trained it like 2 or 3 years back, and I found that my muscles were just getting so sore that I ended up just hurting myself. So this time I'm doing it twice a week and that's working really well for me. I'm quite enjoying that. I'd recommend doing that just because that's how long it takes for my muscles to recover after doing this. You know, I tend to find that my hamstrings especially get really tight and really stiff for the next few days. So I'd recommend just waiting until they feel good again before you do it again. And that for me takes 3 or so days, 3-4 days. So yeah, it's probably similar for you guys, or if it's not, that's great. If you can do it more often, good for you. I just can't, but I just recommend to not do it when your muscles are sore. And it also means that I'm not, like, it's not something that I have to do every single day. It's something that I can maintain, which is really easily manageable. Okay, so what things have I learned since I filmed that video? First things first is holding the splits for 30 seconds is great, but I think the best thing to do is to hold it for 30 seconds, then have a 30 seconds rest, and then hold it again for 30 seconds. And I'd say do it at least twice. If you could do it 3 times, that's great. I wouldn't do it more than 3 times because after 3 times I do start to get quite sore. So I'd say do that twice instead of once. I did it once in my video, and I found that sometimes towards the end of the 30 seconds I'd find myself getting a bit lower. So now I do it twice and that seems to be really helping me. Also, deep breathing. You breathe in and then when you breathe out, sometimes you might find that you have a little bit more space to get a bit lower. So that's really cool. Oh, now even like if you're really comfortable, you can even just hold for a minute instead of doing 2 30-second sets. That'd be really great. What you want in the splits is to try and get to a point where you actually feel comfortable. I mean, I'm using that word lightly, comfortable, like not like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, but basically just so you can be there and just try and just be okay with being there. That's the kind of position you want to be in. And if you can get to that, then you can hold for a minute and that's cool. If you can't, then do 30-second sets. But eventually you will get to that point where it does feel okay to be there. For the front splits, I've made a lot more progress on one side than the other. I think that's pretty normal. No one's equal, I think, on both legs. So this is my progress from month 1. Another thing that I've added to my front splits routine are more anterior pelvic tilts. So basically, you know, this is kind of a neutral position, basically where you tilt your hips forwards like that and stick your bum outwards. So what I've been practicing is I'm getting into this half split and then I'm kind of tilting my hips under and then tilting my hips forwards, and I'm pulling my leg under while I'm stretching my hamstrings. I'm practicing doing that. I'm finding that the sessions where I do this are the sessions where I get the lowest, you know, because then also when I'm in the splits position, I can then, instead of my hips doing this and I'm tilting outwards, I can use that kind of strength that I've made to kind of straighten my hips. Do you see that? I'm kind of straightening my hips. Where instead of like doing that and tilting my hips to the side, I can then straighten my hips, pull this left leg under, pull this right leg under as well, And then when I find that when I get really straight, then I can have more space in my back leg, as well as keeping me in a nice good position for my front leg. So anterior pelvic pulls, I'm gonna call them. Basically where I have my hips forwards and then tilt them under. Tilt. I'm finding those ones really, really useful. And also another exercise that I didn't put in my routine that I do quite like. Going in this position, bending your back leg and holding it, and basically you want to push your foot into your hand for 10 and then relax for 10, and when you relax you might be able to pull your foot a little bit closer to your butt. Then you want to push again, and then when you relax you might be able to push it a bit closer, and if you manage to get to the point where your foot reaches your bum, then you want to push again, and then when you relax you want to try and sink a bit lower in your hip. So you're starting off with your hip being in this tucked under position, yeah? Being in the tucked under position, and then you want to finish with your foot to your bum, and then you want to try and extend your hip with each one. So you want to push again and then get lower and lower and lower, and eventually you want to get to the point where you have your foot to your butt and then be all the way down into this split. That one I find really, really great for your hip flexors. What else have I learned? Yeah, I've learned not to just let yourself sink down with gravity, but to kind of move down with intention, you know, rather than just sitting in the split and being like, oh my gosh, this is too much. What I do is I kind of hold myself up with chairs, and when I feel like I have a bit more space to go lower, I actively try and move my legs outwards rather than pushing myself downwards, if that makes sense. It's a little bit different. I'm using my flexor muscles, I'm using my muscles on the back of my back leg and the top of my front leg to bring my legs apart. I think that works a little bit better. Just because then you're lowering yourself with the range of motion that you actually have, or the range of motion that you have created, rather than forcing yourself to go further than you actually can comfortably do. Middle splits, it took me quite a while to see any progress on middle splits, but I started doing these like middle split push-ups, and that seems to really help me get lower. Basically when I'm in the middle split, I'll show you. So basically if I'm in the middle split, I've started pressing forwards like this, and I can really feel it on the inside of my thighs, and I really feel like it helps me get lower and lower, and I'm pushing my hips back as well. That's what really helps me get lower. I find that the lower I put my torso, the more I can feel it on the inside of my thighs. Yeah. I've seen quite a few videos that say, due to the anatomy of the pelvis, some people physically cannot split lower than a certain point with their foot facing forwards like this, because your hip bone gets stuck. So for a lot of people, you have to have your foot facing upwards in order to actually be able to go lower. So it's either that you have your toes facing up and your body facing up, or you have your toes facing forwards and your body facing forwards. So I think that's why it really helps for me to do these forward push-ups, because I feel like when I go forwards, I can go a lot lower. You see, if I've got my foot facing forwards and I'm up, I can only get to there, whereas when I tilt forwards, I can get it much lower. Did you see that? Oh, see, that feels uncomfortable, whereas here I feel quite comfortable. I can definitely go a bit lower, so that's something I've incorporated into my middle split, so it seems to have really helped. Pancake, I noticed a difference straight away, I think because my hips, like I've never been necessarily unflexible, but my hips in that way were not flexible at all. Like I could not sit on the floor and fold forward whatsoever, like at all. Like as you can see, I'm pretty much at 90 degrees when I started. So I noticed a difference in that one straight away, because that's not something I've ever necessarily worked on properly before. When I'm doing the pancake, I've started using a wall, and it seems to be really helpful. So I kind of put my palms against the wall, open my chest, put my hips back. I try and go as low as I can, Keeping that nice long position on my hamstrings, tilting my hips forwards, that way, and just holding that position and seeing how low I can go. Oh, one thing I will say is when you do the splits, it is not a linear journey. Like, you will have days where it goes, yeah, and then you'll have days where it's absolutely awful. You know, splits are always like this, up and down. I'll tend to have one really good session, then I'll have 2 or 3 or 4 that are pretty shocking, and then it'll go up again, and then down again. And the thing you've got to remember is just to keep going, you know, regardless of how it goes, the fact that you've done it means that you're making progress, whether you can see it or not. So that's why I keep trying to tell myself that if I just keep going, keep consistent, it will happen. And whether I'm making progress or not, I'm still doing a good thing. I'm doing a good thing for my body, for my brain. You know, I'm kind of getting in tune with myself, and I'm learning something new, and I'm pushing myself, and I think that's really great. So yeah, just try not to lose hope. I'm going to try and be here for as long as it takes until I get the splits. I definitely want to get it this year. I'm kind of hoping with the progress I made in month 1 that maybe I could get it within like 8 months, 9 months. But obviously I don't know how it's going to go from here. I might have just made a lot of progress in month 1 and then it might go for a few months. We'll see. I'll keep you updated. So yeah, let me know if any of this was helpful. So I've just kind of been sharing my 1 month progress here and little things that I've kind of added to my routine, and like things I found helpful, I think, in addition to the video that I've already done. So let me know, is this the progress that you expected? Have you started doing your splits journey? How's it going? Let me know in the comments. Alright, so for anyone else joining in on this journey, good luck. Keep me updated with your progress. I hope it's going well. So yeah, let's see. This is the year of the splits, everybody. Good luck. And I'm here with you for the journey. Let's do this. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next month with more progress.